Hello, lovely people, and welcome to 2021. You did it! I decided to make this video to do self-reflection on where I was last year and what I learned, and I feel like a lot of us were going through a lot during the same period of time. So I thought this would be, one, nice for me to have to look back on a year from now. Two, put it out there so everyone else can, I'm sure, relate to a lot of things I'm going to be saying in this video. And three, to create purpose for myself this year in ways that I wasn't able to create it for myself last year, and kind of putting what I ended the year with last year into use this year. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please comment down below your own resolutions for the new year, or what you hope to accomplish that maybe you weren't able to accomplish the year before. But if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and we're gonna get right into the video. If I had to choose one word to describe how 2021 for me, I would definitely have to say it's the word growth. Obviously the pandemic was worldwide, so it gave a lot of people a lot more time to sit and think about their purpose and kind of what they want for themselves. I myself am an avid self-reflector. I am always self-reflecting. I'm always thinking. But I think that I took that to a new level this year. I definitely remember starting the new year and kind of watching the division in my friend group and the people around me and what I was inviting into my life versus what I wasn't inviting into my life. And what I found a lot of when the pandemic first started was that a lot of the people who I called my friends when the world was open didn't call to check up on me. They'd be on social media doing other things but not taking time to reach out to me in the same ways that I reach out to them. And that really hurt because I put the word friends to a high standard in my life, and I'm sure a lot of other people know, you know, people were taking things pretty hard this year. You know, a lot of people were passing away, and COVID was really scary. I personally work in a hospital, so firsthand I was hearing about all the risk factors and things that were going on. But it definitely was a shocker, and it kind of sucked to see that people didn't take enough time to come and check up on the people that they so claim to care so much about. Is that the type of energy you want in your life? How are you going to move forward, and what are you going to take away from that? So I think that was like the initial reaction for me, just kind of being like, wow, like I hit up this person this many times and didn't get no response, or you know, why hasn't so and so checked up on me? As I said previously, I am really big on self-reflection on a regular basis, but I definitely feel like prior to the world shutting down, I was going to a lot of events, thus leading to me not really dealing with the issues that I thought I was self-reflecting on in a good enough way. And I think I was more focused on trying to make friends even if they weren't healthy, rather than making friends that were going to last me a long time. One in particular, because not that I have a hard time making friends, but how do I put this? I feel like I didn't put myself out there enough the year before, and I put myself out there too much because of that. Not being self-aware of the impact it would have dealing with so many different energies, if that makes any type of sense. And I wasn't spending enough time putting that energy towards myself as opposed to trying to give my energy to other people. And so that led to a lot of incidents leading forward amidst of COVID. And in reality, it was just, I just want people to be in my life because they want to be there, not because like they feel they have to. And the way I think is, I'm not forcing anyone to be in my life that doesn't want to be there. So if you don't want to be there, exit as you please, but it's also like, don't be here and bring low vibrations into my life, because I work really hard as a person to keep my vibrations high. And overall, I think I'm a pretty positive person. I try to look at the best in people, and I'm sure so many of us try to look at the best in people, but you got to get to a point where it's like you need to love yourself enough to know when to let people go so that you yourself can be a better person moving forward. And that was really hard for me this year. Very, very, very hard. I cut off like 7 people. Some were easier than others, some were a lot harder than others, but all in all, I really have to sit back and think about how much do I love myself and what are these people bringing to my life that I can't bring to myself on my own. I also felt like this year I didn't want to feel like I was pouring myself into all these other people and other things, and nobody was pouring that same energy or reciprocating that energy back into me, which I think is a big thing because, like I said before, I spend a lot of time looking at the best in people and it's not reciprocated. And so I find myself putting a lot more energy into things that I shouldn't be putting my energy into, and now I'm taking that back this year. I'm gonna stand in my truth. I'm gonna stand for what I think is best for me, and I think that's really hard for a lot of us to do, because when you know people for so long, or when you get to know a person, or whatever the circumstance may be, you find yourself making excuses for people who don't need excuses made for them. In reality, it's a lot of self-reflection on their part that they need to do as well, the same way that you and I have been taking the time to do that during this time. One of the greatest things I think I received 2020 is self-respect. Not that I didn't have self-respect for myself before, but I feel like it's to a whole new level. I do feel like I kind of looked over things or glanced over things because I didn't really take the time to dwell on things as much as I should have. When you love yourself enough, you always come first. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to say, because we're so focused on everybody else and trying to make everyone else happy. But you should be going to bed with a smile on your face every night, or, you know, just feel like you are where you need to be and not dwell so much on how other people make you feel. I think this year just gave a lot of people a lot of time to think about. It gave a lot of people time to think about a lot of things that they wouldn't have typically needed to work on. I know a lot of people who use the world to distract them from what they really need to be worrying about. A lot of people who use other people to mask the fact that they didn't love themselves. A lot of people who use the world to not handle things internally and to blame it on other people. And I just never wanted to be like that. You know, I really wanted to have my own goals, initiatives, be walking in my truth. But it's kind of hard to do that when you can just go outside and ignore all your problems and then come back home and go to bed and start it all over again. But I really wanted to take the time to really figure out what I can do for myself, and especially, do I like myself? And that plays a big role into self-respect, because then you don't have a distraction from reality. It really takes a lot of time and energy and, what's the word I'm looking for? Not commitment, but like, you know, like, it takes a lot of time and energy. And what's that? When you have a distraction with the real world, you're not forced to deal with what you need to deal with when you come home at the end of the day, whether that's your happiness, what you want to do for your future, etc., etc. And that also takes away from figuring out how much you love yourself and how much if you like yourself. I think my biggest takeaway from 2020 was that it wasn't what I expected, but it's what I needed. Sometimes we go along in life thinking that things aren't meant to happen, but when they do, it makes so much more the difference in helping you move your life in the right direction, in ways that you never thought that you needed. I've always wanted a large friend group. I've always wanted to be liked by people, but that's not important. It's not important if you don't love yourself. And I think that's really important to know for yourself, because moving forward, then it won't let people manipulate you and won't let people walk all over you. You know, it gives you the opportunity to let people know how you view yourself, what your standards are, and how you intend on moving forward. And then also, in return, they're gonna respect you 10 times more, because they know they can't get away with shit that they might get away with other people who don't love themselves and who don't respect themselves. I never thought I needed the pandemic to really sit down and reflect, because I do it so often, but I obviously wasn't doing a good enough job at it. Because when you think you're doing your best, sometimes you need that extra push to kind of be like, bitch, get your shit together, try harder, you know you can do better. that especially played a role for me in terms of YouTube and content. I don't know how many of you really watch me, but over the past, I've been on YouTube for quite some time. So over the past couple of years, I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna post content, but I think this is the most consistent I've been in I don't know how long. Vlogmas really pushed me, although I didn't do all 31 days. I did a vast majority of it, which took a lot of time and energy to record yourself every single day doing basically nothing and take the time to edit that content for other people to see whether they watch it or not. But because I love doing this and because I enjoy making content, and I feel like at some point my message is going to reach somebody else, whether that means for them to get away from the real world and watch something lighthearted, or just for someone else to relate to me in ways that they felt like no one else saw things, makes all that much more the difference to me. I definitely feel like the pandemic in some kind of way is what I needed to really take the proper steps to show myself how much I truly loved and respected myself in ways that I should have looked at myself years prior. Definitely have a lot more to learn moving forward, but I definitely feel like I'm taking a step in the right direction to be able to put my energy where it needs to be with the right people. And I definitely feel like leaving 2020, I made a lot of the right decisions for myself. I haven't made the decision yet where I looked back and was like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. I understand now that I have control what's in my control. And that kind of goes back to the idea of vibrations and the people that you choose to surround yourself with, how you choose to move forward in your life. Like me making content, me cutting off people, me doing what I need to do to be a happier person. You do have a lot more control than you think you have, and it's not going to be easy to gain that control, but once you do have an understanding of what that is for you personally in your life, it will take you to bigger and bigger and bigger things that will help you understand yourself more as a person, and also the standards that you set for yourself, whether that be boundaries, making friends, going places, and making you really feel comfortable with yourself in ways that you never thought you would be comfortable. I've definitely taken a lot of control back into my life because for a long time I feel like I didn't have a choice. I was literally always making decisions based off of other people and rather than what I wanted for myself. And at the end of the day, every single time that I tried to do something to please somebody else, it always failed. And it always made me feel like I was going to bed sad or miserable because my efforts were never good enough for other people, and it's like they should be good enough for me. If you do what you need to be doing for yourself, that's all that should matter. And then if it impacts someone in a positive way because you're making the right decisions for yourself, then so be it. But you're not going to be able to please everybody, and that's the reality of it all. It's like you can't please everybody. And if anything, you shouldn't be trying to please everybody else. People should want to gravitate towards you in that way because they see how much you love yourself, and then they can bring that same energy to you because you're attracting the right vibrations. I surrounded myself with a lot of people this year who were vibrating low when I was vibrating high and try to bring me down to their vibration. And it's almost as if you don't notice it when it's happening, but when you feel it, you feel it. I found myself in spaces that I didn't feel like I belonged in. I felt like I was trying too hard to fit in these boxes that weren't meant for me, and it made me really think about what it means to provide people the privilege of having my energy and being around somebody who can vibrate in such high frequencies. You don't want to surround yourself with people who are vibrating low because then they're going to try to bring you down with them. And that kind of just goes with the idea of misery loves company. Miserable people love to bring other people down with them because that's what they know how to do best. People like me, like to pour heavy into other people's cups who don't deserve it. This year definitely eliminated a lot of noise for me. A lot of unnecessary distractions that I maybe in the beginning of the year didn't find to be distracting. I was very aware of the self-sabotaging environments I was putting myself in, and then letting it happen, and then being like, why did it happen this way? Like, girl, like what the fuck you think? Another big lesson I learned this year is that life goes on. When you think that making a decision for yourself is going to stop the world around you, it's not. You have to learn that because you are one with yourself and because you love yourself to that extent, that the world isn't going to stop for you, but that it's going to keep going. And with the world continuing to go, it's also going to give you opportunities as you move forward with it, which I think is very important. I used to think that because I made decisions and that other people wouldn't like me, or that because I wouldn't get the job, or because of whatever, the world was going to stop and I was stuck in this limbo, you know, like where I wasn't moving forward. But in reality, you have to get out that mindset and understand that shit's not always going to go your way. People aren't always going to like you, and people are going to do things that you don't like. But at the end of the day, life goes on and you gotta go with it, because sticking around to be on their level is never going to benefit you, ever. One thing that I'm proud of that I think is pretty consistent with me, my personality, is that I'm a very optimistic person. I try to look at the best in people, even when they don't, but I also try to look at the best in my decisions, my work, and what I'm doing to make sure that I'm always standing on my toes. I think it's important to have a level of optimism moving forward in this world, because it is a very rough one. Without my optimism, I don't know how far I would have gotten in 2020. As we all know, COVID was a big thing, and as I mentioned before, I especially knew the result of COVID because I do work in a hospital. Dealing with people who are vibrating low this year, I definitely needed a shit ton of optimism with that, because that required me to stand in my truth 10 times more than I ever have in my life. Another big lesson that I learned this year is that I shouldn't feel bad for asking for a mutual respect from people. And in reality, I shouldn't be asking for that. I should just be receiving it, because that's the energy that I'm putting out there. I found it really scary to be in friendships with people or creating relationships with people and feeling like I wasn't able to ask those individuals for a mutual respect and receive it. Not because I didn't deserve it, but because I did. And that's scary, you know? I think moving forward, like when I choose to surround myself with people, I really want to make sure that the people I'm surrounding myself want to be there, they want to have that mutual respect, and they want to watch me grow the same way that I want to give them the resources to grow themselves as well. Which is really hard to come by in people, because everyone always has their alternative motives, which is fine. You know, we're not supposed to be in the same lane, but although we're not all in the same lane, it's also nice to know that your friends are supporting you in whatever lane that you're in. So I've definitely found that a lot of things. I think that realization came to me when my best friend came back from the army briefly. It opened up a lot of doors for me in terms of for like self-growth purposes, self-healing purposes. This year I really hope that I can go into the new year knowing that all the choices I'm making are for the best of my well-being, which I could not say last year. I cannot recall a moment last year other than towards the end of the year where I wasn't thinking about everybody else's emotions before mine when making a decision. I definitely took a page from the book and really took some time to not only process how I'm doing things, but how other people are doing things and how I can learn from their experiences. I just wanted really to come on here and make this video to let you guys know that you're not alone in terms of feeling alone. There's a lot going on and everybody was affected in so many different ways, some worse than others. But this year we're going to go into New Year with a positive mindset to hopefully create more memories, heal a lot better than we were able to last year. There was a lot of back-to-back incidences happening last year, and I really hope that people can find their peace in what they're doing and how they're going about life, and also take the time to stand in your truth, find self-respect, self-love, and really take that time as we're kind of exiting the pandemic to still take that time, that personal time, to self-reflect and look around you in ways that you've never looked before, and then put that into play in the real world. But I only wish positivity. As I say in the beginning of every video, which I'll be exiting this time with, is I will always be bringing you guys the light, the energy, and the vibe. Only positive energy going into 2021. And I hope you guys found some kind of clarity, or you were able to relate to me in any way throughout this video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe. If you like videos like this, please like this video, and please leave down any experiences that you had last year that weren't so great, and how you in turn want to move positively into the new year. But I will see you guys in my next one, and Happy New Year.